You! Just inside the tent, I saw Assistant Commander Burren. He looked annoyed. Where have you been, boy? Where's your uniform? You're going to be working with me from here on, and I expect you to be punctual and in uniform, understand? I nodded. Good. Now go get your uniform, boy. He pointed and I nodded again. Behind me stood a table laden with uniforms. I took the smallest one that I could find and rushed behind a curtain to change. However, the uniform was still too big for my slender build. It was almost uncomfortably baggy. I had to roll up my pant legs and my sleeves just to get around safely. The assistant commander was waiting for me just beyond the curtain. I hoped it hadn't taken too long. Looks like we'll have to have that uniform adjusted. Fix the hair and follow me. I have to bring you to the commander. I hesitated for what I swore was only a moment, but apparently it was a moment too long. Snap to it, boy! We don't have all day! I nodded and did my best to tame my hair as I followed the strange man out. The commander's tent, large as it was easily spotted amongst the others. It was also inordinately fancy. Wait here, boy. The man walked into the tent without me, and I waited for him patiently. Hopefully, if I was compliant from now on, he wouldn't think of me as a troublemaker. The man didn't step back out, but he did stick out his arm and waved me in. Sir Thomas, you're looking awfully exuberant these days. He pulled his mouth into such a wide smile that it looked like he was cracking his face. That's his son, Commander. I thought he was helping with the medics this week. His other son, sir. Ah, I see. Why, you are the spitting image of your father. I had to question the validity of that compliment, seeing as Sir Thomas was not my father by blood. Your father and I used to be good friends. Where is he? My father is dead. My father is dead, sir. I could barely choke the words out. The commander's smile dropped. Oh, that's terribly unfortunate. But it wasn't gone for long. No matter. We're sure to win the war with both of his sons here. Oh, yes, sir. Baron was just humoring the commander now. It was strange. Bryce was a very striking man, and he had a lot of power in his voice, but his eyes looked very lost. Perhaps it was only my imagination. I doubt he would have kept his position if he was unfit for command. Baron, be a dear and fetch us something to drink, would you? I believe that's Cordale's job, sir. Yes, aid Cordale. Go to the castle's kitchen and have the nice lady there give you a bottle of something good. Aid? That must be my new title. Cordale doesn't have the authority to enter the castle, sir. Then you'll need to go with him, Burren. The commander continued to smile while Burren did his best to hide his annoyance. Yes, sir. He saluted and exited the tent. I did the same and followed him. The assistant commander muttered to himself some before turning his attention to me. You had better follow closely. The locals don't like it when the soldiers step into the castle grounds. I nodded. Well, at least I know you'll keep your mouth shut. His wide stride made quick work of the training grounds. I practically had to run to keep up. My nerves really kicked up when I entered the castle. I had to move quickly to keep up with the assistant commander. But there was a part of me that was very sure that I'd be suddenly stopped. It was silly. I hadn't even been in these walls since I was little, but somehow thought someone would recognize me. Did I maybe just want that to be true? The assistant commander came to an abrupt halt and I almost bumped into him. We've twisted our way through the castle's halls, and now we were at our destination. I could see the serving women bustling about inside the kitchen, and one even brushed past us to hurry somewhere else. Wait here. Don't wander off. I nodded and the assistant commander went into the kitchen. I watched as he put on a charming smile before speaking with a large woman in a pinafore. Unfortunately, that smile didn't last. What do you mean you don't have it? You promised me that you would hold it for the commander. The assistant commander was speaking in what he probably thought was a hushed tone, but his natural timbre gave him away. It was much too easy for me to make out his words, even with all the clamor in the kitchen. "Perhaps you should have delivered on your promises, Big Bear." The cook was not making any attempts to be quiet. My attention shifted from the bickering pair to a soft laugh close by. I glanced in the direction of the noise. My brow lifted at the sight of a strange masked man sitting in the corner, perched upon a stool. I considered approaching him or asking someone else about him, but Baron cut off that line of thought before I even had the option. "Come on, we're going." The assistant commander looked very disgruntled as he barreled up to us. The bottle of something good must not have been here. I turned to take one last look at the masked man, but he had already vanished. Strange. I guess I could worry about it when I wasn't supposed to be following Baron. The medical tent was slightly less crowded than it had been before, but not by much. I couldn't see my brother anywhere. "Hey!" Half the clerics stopped what they were doing and turned to look at us. The one that responded was more finely dressed than the others. "Assistant Commander Baron, lovely to see you. Prelate Lucius." "Prelate Lucius, the commander has requested I fetch the aide a drink. The kitchen wench sent me on a wild goose chase." The well-dressed cleric laughed and put a hand on the assistant commander's substantial shoulder. "Well, perhaps you shouldn't have led her on the other night when—" Baron cleared his throat and nodded in my direction. "Oh, this must be Cleric Nicholas's brother. He said the commander might want to snap him up." "We don't really have time to be friendly." "No, I suppose not. But I do have what you're looking for. It's on the table there. I fear it's not entirely full. We're low on disinfectants again, so I had to improvise." Prelate Lucius gestured to a fancy brown bottle on the table. The assistant commander grabbed it and made his way out of the tent. The commander was exactly where we'd left him. "Ah, nice of you to visit, Baron." "Your drink, Commander." "Drinking? At this time of day? I'm shocked. And in front of the new boy, too." "It's the one you asked for, sir." "Nonsense! Why would I ask for a drink when we have a battle to plan?" The silence was so awkward it was palpable. "Fair point, Commander." "Since you brought it, why don't you leave it there by my swords?" "Yes, sir." Baron did as he was told, and the commander's attention settled on me. "You look exhausted. Did you march in with the other new recruits?" I nodded. "Well, no wonder. They had you traipsing through the King's Woods all night. Baron, see to it that the lad gets some proper rest before the big show." "Did the scouts bring any news?" "Even if they had, you should always be prepared for war." "Of course, sir." Baron saluted Commander Bryce and walked out of the tent. I followed. I expected him to stop once we were outside, but he didn't. He must have been leading me to where I was expected to sleep. With all the thought that I'd been dedicating to sleep, I hadn't really considered where it was going to be. The assistant commander walked me into a tent full of beds stacked onto one another. Several of the boys were already sleeping. I had to assume no one was meant to have any bed in particular. Maybe I should introduce myself to the other soldiers, but I'm so tired. We're just gonna go to bed. Yeah. I collapsed onto the nearest bed, and not even my uncomfortable uniform could keep me from sleep. I was awake, but there was no light to wake me. I felt hollow and cold, and I never wanted to open my eyes again. Something had woken me up unbidden, but I couldn't figure out what it was. The boys had either left or settled down because I wasn't hearing anything from the tent. But wait, I was hearing something. It was a faint sound, like voices, but it could have been anything. If it was something dangerous, there was an entire camp of soldiers to wake me back up. Yet something inside of me decided that this noise was worth waking up for, and I humored the idea of checking it out. We're gonna check out the noise. With a soft grunt, I pushed myself upright. I still didn't want to open my eyes, but I would have to if I wanted to see the way out of the tent. I had my glasses on my face before I blearily adjusted my vision to the tent. It was empty. The boys must have left to do something. Or to not disturb me, but I somehow doubted that one. The noise came in a little louder now, and it hit me suddenly why I'd woken up in the first place. It was my brother's voice. I felt much more awake as I slipped out of the tent and into the cold night. "I'm sorry, sir, but I didn't steal it, sir." Nick was getting accused of stealing? There was no way my brother was a thief. As I crossed the camp over to the medical tent, I started growing angry on his behalf. "A servant saw you skulking around the palace, boy. There's no point in lying." I got to the medical tent and the front was closed. I peered inside through a crack in the flap. "If my cleric says he didn't take it, then I am inclined to believe him." "There is no point in covering for him, prelate. He's already been caught. You were seen near the kitchen right before the stuff went missing, and I know you're not dumb enough to use it as disinfectant." "Perhaps he was there for another reason, Assistant Commander. It's not unusual for the young men to sneak out to see their girlfriends who might work in the castle." "Girlfriend? My brother? He was pretty popular back home, but he'd never really shown any interest in girls. Had that changed about him too? It made more sense than him stealing." "Were you there for a girl, boy? And don't lie about it to cover your ass. It's a worse offense than just taking a bottle of booze." "No, sir. I wasn't there for a girl, sir." "Then enlighten me. What were you there for?" "I wasn't there at all, sir." "Why would a servant describe you to me when I asked them what the soldier they saw looked like?" "Perhaps they think all Slygardians look the same, sir." The assistant commander sneered at my brother for that remark, and I spat air out of my mouth trying to hold back in a laugh. If I wasn't careful, it was going to be spotted. "All you have is a servant's word over my cleric's, Assistant Commander. Also, the alcohol was recovered in short order. Surely you can let this slide." "I'm not in the habit of letting things slide, prelate." "When a lady is involved, no, I suppose you aren't." "Yes, the kitchen wench reported to me that it was actually stolen a short while ago, but I don't see how her being a lady matters." "No, you're right. I'm sorry about my assumption. After all, dallying with the women in the castle is deeply frowned upon, isn't it, Baron?" The assistant commander glared at the prelate, stiffened his posture, and shot a hot, angry look at Nick. "I suppose I can overlook the matter this once." He really ground those words through his teeth. He must have been very angry over this. "To your discretion." The prelate bowed elegantly, and the assistant commander made his way towards me. I quickly made my way around the tent so as not to be spotted, then crept to the flap again. Going back to my tent was probably the wiser choice here, but I wanted to see what else was going to happen to my brother. "That was quite the to-do you just caused me, Cleric Cordale." "Sorry, prelate." "Yeah, I can't have bad rumors spreading about my clerics. The men need to trust them in order to allow themselves to be taken care of by them. Do you understand that?" "Yes, prelate." "I'm not sure that you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't have stolen from the castle kitchen in the first place." Wait, so the prelate thought that my brother did it too? If I were a braver soul, I'd burst in and defend his honor. Or a dumber soul, at least. "I didn't steal it." "Then which Slygardian cleric of mine did? Because I'm not aware of any other being promoted into my care. You are the only Slygardian I have here." It was strange. While the prelate was saying words that would normally have venom behind them, he sounded absolutely calm, eerily so. "I didn't take it for myself." "What? So he did steal it? My brother stole something?" My outrage nearly made me cry out and reveal myself. Luckily, being quiet was my strong suit. "Then for whom?" "Mechanist James." Of course, the mechanist. He would send in a lackey to do his dirty work. Soldiers aren't allowed on the grounds, and the cleric would seem less suspicious. "I'm sure whatever plan that he had made complete and utter sense at the time, Cleric Cordale. You are too easily swept away into his charms." "Yes, prelate." "It would be far more effective to ignore him rather than just agreeing with me, but no doubt that will happen." Go to the sleeping tent, Claire Cordell. You've caused me enough trouble at this unsavory hour. Yes, Prelate. Nick walked towards me, and I considered moving out of the way, but there was really no reason for me to hide from my brother, and he might want someone to talk to. When he saw me, I thought he'd look surprised or maybe pleased, but instead he grabbed me by the arm and pulled me away from the tent and further into the camp. Where are we going? I'm taking you back to the sleeping tent. But I thought you might... Well, I don't. You should be sleeping. Did you really steal that booze? No. Then why did you tell Prelate that you did? My arm was starting to hurt from how tightly he was gripping it to drag me. Because they didn't believe me anyway, and I didn't want to get James in trouble. So then he stole it. Why didn't you just tell them that? He's my only friend here, and he took my robes to sneak in. They'd arrest him for doing something like that. What did he want it for? He was testing it for combustion or something. Any more questions riding on your tongue, or can we just drop it? We can drop it, I guess. Good. My brother let go of me in front of the soldier's sleeping tent and started in the direction of the cleric's tent. Where are you going? Out. Go to sleep. I watched him walk away, confused, until the fact that I'd been woken in the middle of the night slapped me in the face. Overwhelmed with weariness, I went back to my cot and fell into it face first. I was still concerned, but I let sleep take me.